Fury versus Usyk for the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world. April the 29th. So they say. April the 29th is a goer. Many people don't think it's going to happen, but according to the two men, it's on. According to the legal team, it's on. So finally on April the 29th, we're going to have a new undisputed champion. The last undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, I believe, was Lennox Lewis. So we've had to wait that long for undisputed. But you don't have to wait that long to speak to our Eastern European correspondent, Eugene. He's on the show, and he's on next. Eugene.
Hey, Ingram.
How are you?
I'm doing great. You?
I'm good. I feel like kind of saying Happy New Year to you because it's been so long.
I guess we haven't seen each other from the last year. Yes.
No, we haven't seen you for a while, but it's all good to have you back on the show. It's a pleasure. A few things to note. First of all, must say Mr. Bashir has been in hospital. I'm not quite sure what he's been in hospital for. He says that it's to do with the pains of boxing. I don't know if he's got a shoulder injury or what, but he was up in his bed with a photograph of him with maybe a bandage over his shoulder and stuff. So, Eugene, I don't know if you saw that picture or not.
I did see it. Yes.
Yeah. So we just wish him well, a speedy, healthy recovery. We all know Uncle Bashir is a strong man, and as I said, we love you, Uncle Bashir, and we kind of wish you a speedy, healthy, and safe recovery. Okay, the moment is here. Before we start, Eugene, are you aware that both Tyson Fury and Oleksandr Usyk are two fighters that came through this channel? And are you also aware that Tyson Fury, when he was first on this channel, was given no chance, and Oleksandr Usyk was given no chance of becoming heavyweight champion of the world on this same channel? And can you believe now those two guys are now fighting for the heavyweight championship of the world? It's been a long journey, Eugene.
It's the funny way that boxing teaches you that you know nothing. Because at the first glance, you take a look at people, their attributes, where they at in that moment, and you think that's it. That's as high as it can go, right? And people are resilient and they have egos, so they pursue them. And in the end, it's not a competition of athleticism as much as a competition of wills. Now, who's gonna be in this grueling fight or this grueling competition and gonna come out of it like the most solid? Who's not gonna cave? Who's gonna basically toe their own line, essentially? And a lot of people who promise a lot from their athletic side, they burn away very quickly. Like, and then after 5 years, nobody even remembers them. Like a flash in a pan. While people who just were consistently good, but also not that good that people would be falling over themselves, prove that that base is what you need to keep building from good to great.
Longevity, consistency.
Yes, always
Self-belief.
effort. Everything in life that you can trace, everything is consistency over effort. Like if you exercise consistently a few times a week, it's better than exercising very hard one time a week, and then I don't know, having fall off and back again moments, right? We can look at people who are not so consistent, in boxing, for example, Kovalev. He's known to be a raging drunkard, right? So he abuses himself, goes back to camp, tries to rebuild, and then goes back to abusing himself. And he ended up losing to Canelo, which, if you see Canelo fighting a real 175 champion, it's not even a competition. Like, Canelo just literally had nothing to answer. And it wasn't that Kovalev didn't have the skill set to beat him. It's just he didn't have the consistency of that skill set to be applied.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Absolutely.
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 That's why boxing always gets its way.
The boxing gods are unforgiving. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
So it's been a long road. And when we look at it now, Fury Usyk would be like the last two, so like defining fighters. You could put Boots in as well, maybe, but really, Fury and Usyk would be the last two defining fighters under the BWTM Sports Bayloric TV journey. Really, because after that, there is nobody really else that we kind of like. We followed everyone else. The Crawford went on to become undisputed. Who else was undisputed? Usyk was undisputed. Stavern became a world champion. Wilder became a world champion. So there's been lots of fighters who've gone on and become world champions. But these two here, the Usyk and the Fury journey, has been won because of Uncle Bashir, Peter Fury. I've been two that have been either highly controversial or there's been a great deal of interest. I mean, even to the point when Usyk won his first world title, we were getting behind the scenes footage of him training. We were getting interviews with him when people really wasn't paying any attention to Oleksandr Usyk. Now everyone's talking about Usyk's this, Usyk's that, but we knew about Usyk a long time ago, and that was because of the relationship with James Bashir. So it's kind of like it's been a long road, if you get what I mean.
Yes, it was a long time investment, I would say.
I'd say so.
To
I'd say
spot the
so.
talent early and give them the attention they deserve.
Absolutely.
To just realize it's almost 10 years from now, right? Because Usyk became
Yeah.
pro at the end of 2013,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's pretty much 10 years from then that he's moving from being an Olympic gold um, medalist to challenge for another undisputed in his lifetime in another weight division.
Absolutely. And so much has changed, even just personally as well. When I started this journey doing this, it was like, getting the interviews, talking to the boxers, breaking the news. And then all like now you look at it now, other side of the camera now, being a co-host on a quite a big national television, you know, reaching out, doing stuff in another country, doing development work. So times have changed, and even more so now, the interest in boxing has changed as well. That it's just not the same as it used to be. We get moments. We get moments of we've got a month of great fights, and then you get a whole lot of dross again. Your thoughts?
It's really different. Jesus, Tommy Fury versus which Paul was it? Jake Paul?
Jake Paul.
That's a thing. I don't know how, but it's a thing, and they're getting money that a lot of champions are not getting.
Think this out just for 1 second. Tommy Fury has, they were saying that it was Jake Paul and Tommy Fury. Like Tommy Fury would have made is more of a name, is more well known in America than Anthony Joshua is because of that fight he had with Jake Paul.
Yeah, and talent
Can you believe
wise,
that?
it's a huge gap. You can have somebody talented, in a close category or just in general, that are people are just struggling to be recognized, even though they're not staking any less on the line, sometimes even more, because that's all their life is.
Yeah.
So
Can you go on?
yeah, we live in this, I guess, very quick return world where people don't pursue the long lasting stuff, legacy, whatever. People go for more quick conflict and quick money and
Fast food
yeah,
mentality. Yeah, 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 yeah,
pretty
yeah, yeah.
much.
Wow. Can you imagine? Imagine if Jake Paul literally is the future of boxing. And what I mean with the future of boxing is that that level of boxing, that the standard of boxing he's got there, is going to be the standard bearer for the future. And that the likes of Floyd Mayweather and that sort of style and excellence is no longer the in thing. And that Jake Paul, the standard of Jake Paul and Tommy Fury, more so Jake Paul, is the future.
It would be very unfortunate because just the other day, Mr. Bashir sent me a link to a fight I've never seen before,
Mm.
and it was from late '90s or 2000s. It's Jimmy Thunder versus Maurice Harris.
Norris Harris, yes.
That was a beautiful fight, but what I realized is that in 2000s, like early 2000s and late '90s, that was happening all the time. Like these fights were not few and far between. Right now,
Mm.
we are on a very lean diet of good fights. Just yesterday, there was a fight between Team Zoo, right?
And Tony Harrison.
Right. And, well, I don't know how I feel about it because that was the only fight on the card. This is it. We get a dessert and we don't get the main course, the meal, the starters, the appetizers.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm kind of worried that this is the sign of things to come, where we're gonna have three fights in the night, and because people are just the standard has fallen so low that you cannot interest people in this bigger event.
Because people are not interested in history anymore. They're just interested in now. Hopkins made an interesting statement. He went, why do we only think about what happened back then? Back then, it's about now. It's about what's going on now, not the past. I'm like, okay. So, you know, like I
But
said,
the,
Jake Paul looks to the future.
but here's the thing: the now is fleeting. Like whatever happens now, there is no guarantee that it's gonna last, right? When we are not taking something in a small scale, like let's say a career of one fighter, but we're
Mm,
looking at the broader picture of the history of the division, for example, right?
yeah.
How it changed throughout the decades. That is a lot different because if previously we would have lots of talent from all over the world, and each one of them contained this story behind them, and they would clash against each other and prove themselves. These days is everybody gets their 15 seconds of fame and then it's just gone, which is okay if you would just want to watch something this particular evening, you know but if it's something bigger, something you want to, these fights you're not going to revisit. Nobody's going to come back 10 years from now and watch Jake Paul fight Tommy Fury. For what? It's not a fight to rewatch.
Yeah, it could be historically. This is the point where boxing. This was the crossroads point of boxing, of what us old school understood boxing to be. Now, check this out: Ryan Garcia and what's his name, and Gervonta Davis is now the fight that everyone's talking about. It's boxing's not dead. Look, we've got this fight, and I'm like, you don't see the UFC doing that, do you? UFC just had John Jones become heavyweight champion of the world, right?
Yeah.
And then next week they'll have another set of great fights, and then a week after that they've got great fights. Why can't boxing be like that?
There is an issue though, and the issue is that UFC is still more loaded towards money than towards legacy. And this shows in in the fact that UFC fighters don't fight fighters from other promotions. So we don't see a Bellator champion challenge a UFC champion.
Okay.
You know, it's all very inside and controlled, and there's also a lot of questionable decisions. Like let's say if a fight goes to a decision and it seems like a close fight, but you're edging it towards one guy,
Mm.
so very often it's been noticed that the more profitable guy gets the nod.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And when you have your promoter is your sanctioning body, like they hold the belt, right? It's a UFC belt.
Yep.
They control your rankings
Mm-hmm.
and they promote you. The only thing that's outside is your manager and the athletic commission. Now, if you want to put your trust in athletic commission, I have a Mongolian beachside property I wish to would sell you. Um, but yeah, it, UFC does things right in a way, but there's also a lot of hurt that the fighters are going through,
Yeah.
and hopefully there are some movements to make
Change
it
that.
change it towards a league, like a basketball has a league, right? And all the different
Yeah.
teams are overseen by it, and the
Yep.
same should people are working on laws to make it for boxing and MMA,
Mm-hmm.
because it's no jokes what these athletes go through, and their injuries are debilitating.
Mm. Yeah. Absolutely. But okay, as somebody, Carl asks, how many different governing bodies are in the UFC?
What does that mean?
Well, how many governing bodies? In boxing, we've got the WBC, WBA, the IBF, the
Yeah, no, there's
IBO.
only one.
There's only one.
Undisputed champion is the guy who holds one belt, and then somehow the interim, you can be undisputed champion when there is an interim champion somehow, which disputes the whole point of undisputed.
Disputed. Yeah.
So
But
um
the one thing about UFC, if you listen to their commentary, they'll never say it's the end of the road for a fighter. The guy can always come back. The guy can have like 50 losses, but they'll say, he's still a great fighter. He could turn this around. All he needs is one drop kick or one doing this or one that or one elbow, and the fight could turn. So they always keep you engaged with both fighters. They will tell you that he's had a long run, he's been in the game a long time, but they won't out and outright destroy a fighter while commentating. Whereas in boxing, they will completely destroy a fighter in boxing or be completely biased to one fighter. That's what I've noticed.
yeah, well, I would say this has to do with what regard the champion is being held in.
Hmm.
Boxing champions are being held in the regard of like the god on the Mount Olympus, and he's
Hmm.
being dethroned, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or the challenger, right? Supposed to be this great fighter, and all of a sudden, being exposed. While people do get mismatched, people sometimes you know, have bad luck, and you
Mm-hmm.
cannot just write people off. If you look at how a lot of UFC fighters' careers go,
Mm-hmm.
their record at the beginning is not that great.
Mm-hmm.
They go pretty well, then they face somebody who has a style to basically show them their weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go back and they work on their mistakes. And after a while, all of a sudden, you have a well-rounded fighter that it takes a lot to defeat.
Mm-hmm.
Just recently, for example, well, recently, I mean, in the past few years,
Yes.
champion from Nigeria, Kamaru Usman, right? Before he became champion, back in like 2014, 2015, he was regarded as a very boring fighter, and he wasn't that interesting to watch, and his style overall was not very interesting. And over the years, and didn't have a stellar record, but over the years he kept working and kept working. And from a guy who could only wrestle, he became the guy who would knock people out with a single punch, which somebody, and he would outstrike the strikers and out wrestle the wrestlers. And all of a sudden, if you would keep that narrative that the guy has hit his limit, he reached his ceiling, then yeah, it wouldn't make sense why the guy all of a sudden became a great champion.
Okay.
I think boxing expects a lot from boxers, but also doesn't regard them with much.
Okay.
When that's a dichotomy, right? If a boxer has it easy and wins a fight against a good opponent, then the opponent was no good. So the champion is no good either because he just destroys tin cans, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if a if a champion loses to a good fighter, somehow before that he was fighting only tin cans. Now he fought the real
Hype
guy.
job. Hype job, yeah.
Yeah.
Hype job.
Now that he fought the real guy, now we know. It's very unfair. It's
Yeah.
illogical, very emotional, and too much invested in this
Do you think
perfect
there's
world.
too many like in I like that what UFC is like they look at their press conferences and I know it's closed off, but for the most part you don't get stupid journalists, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
Or stupid question. There's a almost like a set, and it could just be me looking from the outside looking in, but they seem to have things organized. I'm not saying UFC is perfect, and I'm not sitting down and telling you that I'm going to become I'm switching over from boxing to UFC. No, I appreciate UFC for where it's at, and I appreciate if I'm sitting down and watching the boxing, watching UFC and watching the fights, and when there's a big fight, they really do go to town on it, and it's really exciting. But I could never turn around and say, like, I'm going to switch in UFC. I'm going to forget about boxing. I just think that, like, the promoters, the sanctioning bodies do themselves no favors. So, check this. Now, you've got Conor Benn. I really don't want to talk too much about this. Conor Benn, who in his own country hasn't been tested or isn't being recognized, hasn't got a license. Yet the WBC overrides that and says, it's okay. There's no conclusive evidence to say that you cheated. However, so you can be reinstated. You can fight under our rankings. You got your ranking back. And that basically means that you could fight anywhere in the world apart from the UK where you haven't got a license, and you'll be all right. But how can that be right? How can that be right?
Well, that comes. I just see it as a pure conflict of interests, and I think the UK Athletic Commission, whatever the name of it is,
British
the proper
Boxing Board
name,
of Control,
right, should stamp down on WBC and say, listen, this is our territory. If there is anything WBC happening in the UK, you're gonna make sure that we're fine with it.
But watch this. Can the British Boxing Board of Control say from now on, no more, we do not recognise WBC in the UK? I can't do that because the amount of money it'll probably bring in. I can't do that. And WBC will probably sue them. I don't know.
Well, here they can do it because they're the government body who actually allows WBC to function. So the only reason why they don't do it is because they, frankly, I think they just don't care enough to make a stand. Because it's easier to just let it go. If anything, you can just say, "Oh, it's WBC fault."
Interesting. It's not right.
No,
It's not.
definitely isn't, and it's not good for anyone.
Another point I want to bring up, I do mention, good evening to everybody in the room, by the way. Just going through a few things, random conversation before we talk about Fury and Usyk. There was something Johnny Nelson said the other day, which I think is spot on, bang on, and I've said it for the longest while. In fact, I said two things. I said this about 4 or 5 years ago, if you remember me talking about drug testing. I said that with this whole drug testing thing, there are going to be people who are going to get caught, and need to be slung behind bars, and the key should be thrown away. And there are other people who are going to get caught in this that are actually innocent. And it's a good way to assassinate a character. It's a great way to destroy a person's career. It's anything that man can have, that man can influence and can change decisions on and have power over, it can be corrupted. So he's like, oh yeah, well, this person's been drug tested and that person's been drug tested. But okay, well, Canelo got drug tested and, you know, he failed a drug test, so that we'll ban him for 6 months, but yet he's allowed to come back and fight in a pay-per-view. Oh, Povetkin got banned. Oh, got caught 3 times, banged to rights 3 times. But guess what? He came back and he fought on pay-per-view and continues to fight on pay-per-view. Jarrell Miller got caught, banged to rights by Howard Seddon. He got caught 3 times. He's been banned and for how many years? So it's the inconsistencies as well. I don't understand it. Oh, but somebody says, oh, well, there's different governing bodies. So because there's different governing bodies, Tom can say this and Harry can say that and John can say that. So the inconsistencies don't happen either. So we may have a unified or an undisputed champion, but there's lots of disputing between the governing bodies and what is really right within the sport, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I believe, and it's my personal belief, I don't state that it's the absolute fact, but whenever a backdoor exists, it exists because it's designed to be there. There are oversight and cracks, which, if noticed, usually get patched up quickly. But when there is an actual backdoor that you see people consistently go through, and other people are being bounced back, that means that the rules exist, but their application is held ambiguous so that it can be applied unevenly. So the people who what kind of money does Jarrell Miller bring? Not that much. Whatever. Let's get rid of him. You know, how much does Canelo bring? A lot. Let's keep him. It's gonna hurt us if we get rid of him. Povetkin is also quite a bit of a draw. So let's keep him as well, because everybody knows him. We can pull him out, use his name, build up, recycle, whatever we need to do, because there's money to be made out of that. And unfortunately, it's really the only difference is not the sanction, not the overseeing committee or drug test organization. The only difference is the fighter, because we see things like that happening in the UK. We see them happening in the US. You know, we see them happening in Russia. You know, so it's very consistent at being inconsistent, and it's a sign that that's the standard.
Yeah. I think that when a fighter gets caught, him and his whole team need to be brought to account. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Fighter and his team. Not just so it shouldn't just be Conor Benn out there. It should be Conor Benn and his team.
Yeah, there really should be more. Again, if you were to fix this issue, because there is no indication that there is interest in this system being fixed, right? But if you were to fix it, it would require accountability on a lot of sides.
Okay, let's try this. Let's take Conor Benn, and let's not have Conor Benn as Eddie Hearn's promoter. Let's just say Eddie Hearn's not his promoter. And let's just say his name isn't Ben. What happens to him?
Well, let's call him Dave Allen.
Okay.
Imagine Dave Allen all of a sudden decides to have a fight, pops for a bunch of banned substances. Does he get off scot-free if his promoter is not
Eddie Hearn?
Yes, if not Eddie Hearn. I feel like he'd be thrown under the bus because whenever a system needs to assert itself,
It
it
picks on the
has the
poorest person.
sacrificial lamb. You know,
Yeah, it picks.
whenever corrupt governments, no, let's not specify country. Let's say there are corruption with the police, right? And somebody does something stupid, they really slam him to show, look, we found this crooked guy, and we really we're not gonna stand for his behavior. We're really gonna show him. Meanwhile, the whole system is rotten. You know, that's what's done in a system that is fine with where it's at. It just doesn't want the stink. Every now and then, somebody has to be thrown under the bus. And Jerome Miller, I think, is the guy.
Jerome Miller got thrown under the bus, I think, because he started talking about Joshua cycling on PEDs. That's what I heard. That's why they threw him. They punished him because he spoke out of turn. So they punished him.
Perhaps, but I wouldn't even tie it to Joshua because it's not necessarily that they took offense to him talking about Joshua, but in general that there is a standard at which boxers juice up, cycle off, and it's not being clamped down on. You know, he's making certain people uncomfortable by that talk.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in the room, got a lot of comments, so I don't want to skip past them. We'll go through this first, and then we'll kind of go on to Usyk and Fury. It says if we talked about the governing bodies, this is why it's more frequent. 50 fight. I think it's 50 or so fight in UFC versus boxing, because he's talking about the governing bodies there. Like UFC's got one overall governing body, and then he's saying that the boxing's got so many governing bodies. O's are important. In M&A, it seems to me, every boxer wants to be undefeated. That's true.
Yep.
Ring Gang TV, good to see you, brother. Toby says, boxing is real. What have you done for me lately, sport? If you lose, you're washed up. I hate it all. I hate it. All my favorite boxers have L's. What's up, homie? You tell me, bro. It's been a while. The UFC is on one television network, ESPN. Boxing is on 5. That's the issue. Interesting. It's not right. WBC got buried in litigation. They don't want to spend money in the legal system. UFC, to me, is basically like Top Rank, only fighting Top Rank. Queensbury versus Queensbury.
Matchroom, I guess.
I mean, mismatch room versus mismatch room. It says, Lobby says, but all the best mixed martial art artists under the AFC, so they make super fights without politics. That's true. I mean, you're still getting the super fights. You get the super fights of UFC.
Yes. The only downside is that those people are not being paid their worth. And
okay, do you think Terence Crawford and Errol Spence would have not fought one another if they were the UFC?
No, they would have fought.
That's it.
Yeah.
Any dream fight in boxing that you would want to have made in the UFC would happen.
Yeah, the trade-off. UFC gives you the fights that you want.
Yeah.
But it doesn't give the fighter what they want.
But could you make an argument and say, well, the fighters know going in what they're that I'm not for 1 second condoning a fighter not being paid what it's worth, because they're putting their body and their life on the line each and every time. In fact, I might say they're putting their life on the line more danger than a boxer, because a boxer just have to look for punches, and that's dangerous as it is. But to listen, the difference between just boxing and just having to watch out for 2 fists, as opposed to 2 fists, flying back fist, a spinning roundhouse kick, elbows, being on the ground, being thumped when you're on the ground. UFC is far more brutal.
Oh yeah, you can get joints ripped out of your elbow. You know,
That's what I'm saying to
you
you.
can have your
So
shin bone split in half. You can see some of those vicious injuries that you would never see in boxing unless it was some kind of absolute freak event. But in UFC, they're a dime a dozen.
that's what I'm saying. So these guys are getting paid, but they know what to sign up for. No one's dragging them into it. So the argument could be, is like, okay, UFC have got a great model in terms of us being able to see all the fights you want to see. If you want to see all the fights you want to see, invest in UFC. If you want to keep having your hopes dashed with a sprinkle of hope, carry on watching boxing. If you want to watch a whole lot of mismatches, most of the time, watch boxing. If you want to see the best fight, the best, watch UFC. Is that unfair?
It depends. Like I don't think this is sustainable because UFC has grown to the point where quite a few things need to be changed.
Yep.
And uh, the most recent and the most vocal was the issue with Ngannou,
Of
right? The
course.
heavyweight champion, who
Yep.
said, "Look, I'm willing to fight anyone," and he has proven it. He has fought whoever to fight in the heavyweight division, but I have to dictate my terms. You know, I have to be paid well. I have to be more in control of my career because otherwise, you neither get in the money nor the longevity because athletes are not long
But
lasting, right? They have
okay,
to.
but hold on. If a fighter is more in control of their career, who's going to want to take hard fight after hard fight after hard fight after hard fight? They're not. They're going to want to have easy touches. So when a fighter says they want to be more in control of their career, they are saying, yes, I'll fight anybody, but let me have a couple of soft touches in between that, so I can make money. I can generate more money. If I'm not going to get paid as much, then all right, let me take a few soft touches so I can make up some money, put some money in my bank account, and then I'll take the big fights on. Instead of taking big fight after big fight, risk after risk, risk after risk with very little reward, apart from a pat in the back and well done. Do you understand?
Yeah,
But then if they do that, then you have a situation what we've got in boxing, where you've got guys who don't want to fight the best over and over again, that they want easy touches, and fight guys that are nowhere near the caliber that they should be fighting.
I think there's gotta be some balance between the two. You cannot go one way or the other, like 100%, because if you have this crucible, of UFC of just clashing people together until you see whoever is left standing, that's a very cutthroat system.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Cutthroat to who? Cutthroat to who though?
to the fighters.
But it's not to the fans.
Oh, definitely not. But
Well,
the fans never care. They just want to see a good fight. They don't want to. They don't care about the fighter being unable to get out of bed. You know.
no. We got lawyers and solicitors and barristers and people who know how to drop contracts now over YouTube. 50, 60, 40, 40, 30. I don't give a damn what the negotiation is because I'm not getting paid any of that money. If it's 35, if Fury's getting 70 and Usyk's getting 30, what business is that to me? Why do I care? Am I getting any of that money?
Yep.
I mean, I personally don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't
In
understand it.
in my mind, it has more to do with people trying to play, um, trying to put themselves in the position of the decision makers, which they're not. You know.
No chance.
And the second thing that it does, it informs you about the fighter's motivations, right? If a fighter is putting all the roadblocks and all the speed bumps that he can come up with in front of him,
Mhm.
it tells
Yeah.
you that the fighter doesn't want to fight.
Well, you could say that about Tyson Fury, saying that he didn't really want the fight against Usyk. That's why he was saying 70-30. Well, I've got more commercial rights. And yes, you do.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know, to be honest with you. Eugene, I don't know. I'm
At
sick
the
and
end of
tired
the
of it.
day,
Yeah.
um, we, at the end of the day, I would say that the fight has been agreed on, allegedly. I don't know, haven't seen the contract, but
Who
Usyk,
has? Who has?
yeah,
Whoever does.
but
Apart from those that matter.
Usyk wanted the fight so much he would accept the 70-30,
Mhm.
and um, Tyson hasn't done anything yet to not make the fight happen.
Okay. Let me go through some of these questions here, and we're going to go straight to that. Yes, but when you're under the same umbrella, the aftermath of the winner and loser is painted accordingly, rather than how it is in boxing, when one promotional house fighter wins, the loss is considered. And then Toby says, spot on, Eugene. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. Carl says, most costly, as not only the fighter but the entire professional outfit are against each other. Carl says, I agree. I also think if a fighter gets caught, they can only fight another banned fighter for the duration of their banning. That's good. One banned fighter versus another banned fighter.
I mean, that's fair, you know.
That's
Let's
good, isn't
put
it?
the drugs cheats together. We're gonna have a drug cheat league.
Yeah. Oh dear. Sponsored by your local chemist. Good evening to you, Ingram. Please tell me you're going to be on the ground for Usyk versus Fury. It will be a pleasure to see you down there. April 29th. My friend, I don't know. I don't know. Anything's possible at this moment in time. Anything's possible. I graduate, I think, the first week of April for my level 3. So anything's possible. The possibility of coming back to the UK is strong. Who knows? Look at Kid Galahad under Mick. Yeah, I did see that. If David Avanesian popped like Ben did, he'd be exiled. He'd never get another payday. Mm-hmm. There's a video called Introducing Conor Ben. It's a match for media production. I watched it in the days after the fallout of Ben Eubank. One thing stood out to me was right towards the end of the video, Conor Ben says something significant. He says in 12 weeks after he walked into Tony Sims' gym, Tony turned into a monster in 12 weeks. And he doesn't know how he's done it. Wow. What do you think of that, Eugene?
Can neither confirm nor deny, but you know, where smoke there's fire, they say, right?
Mm-hmm. I think people are conflating between UFC, MMA. MMA is a sport. UFC, Bellator, and Evincia One, and all the other companies. The same cross-promotional issues exist as in boxing. Okay.
Not only that, they exist at the point where the fights don't happen.
Mm-hmm. A fair comparison would be UFC and PBC or One and Top Rank, as these are specific promotional companies within the said sport. Okay. Look at the leg break last night. Oh, I think that's a fair count, but boxing will remain my love. I must admit, I'm buzzing for Fury versus Usyk. I can't wait. I'll be there. If BWTM Ulster's going, it would be a pleasure to say hello. I'd love to be there, my friend. Love to be there. Let's see if Fury goes through with this first call. Rumors say he wants in Ghana. Did you walk away from boxing? I guess no one paid for your members. This is the third time you came calling. Oh, God, who is this? Who's this muppet? Mate, have you got a life? Just like, yeah, bye-bye. See you later. It's like, oh, sir, 2000. I've got a funny feeling Vlad and Vitaly will be a part of the promotion and will be there at the press conference there. That'd be quite fun. It's not just a ducking, it's a cross-promotional stuff that complicates things. Hence the delay of Maypac, delay of Spence Crawford, delay of Mayweather De La Hoya Floyd, Sweet Pea, not happening. Yeah, but now we've got Ryan Garcia versus Tank, right? Come on, Ingram, let's make it happen. Wembley. The last time I was at Wembley, was doing an interview with Tyson Fury, and he was talking about getting stripped by the IBF. In fact, that's where we sat down and had a meal together out in Wembley, just outside Wembley. Oh, that was the night that Huey Fury fought Dominic Gwynn. Yeah, Huey Fury fought Dominic Gwynn that night. Can't remember. Tyson Fury. Yeah, and he was preparing for that second Vladimir Klitschko fight, the rematch. Yes. Well, he didn't seem too happy about it. Graduation time to celebrate. Congratulations. Yes, my friend. I can't wait. Can't wait. So many things I'd love to share. But we'll have to leave that for another day. Ryan Garcia versus Tank Davis is happening solely for Ryan pushing for it and getting social media involved. This is the era we're in, Ingram. Someone calls you out online. Yeah, it is what it is. All right, Eugene, the floor is yours. Let's talk Usyk Fury. And I say Usyk Fury because from the Ukrainian and Eastern European correspondent's point of view, you'll take the floor, my friend.
All right. So, what we know so far is that the fight was being hyped up. When at the end of Fury versus Chisora, Usyk comes up to the ring and they have a stare down. You know, um, a little I don't know, three-way standoff with Joyce for some reason. That was odd. Like it's literally, hey, let's pull anyone in. But anyways, the fight was being made, and it was supposed to happen in Saudi Arabia, I believe.
Mm.
Now, allegedly, um, the split was 50-50, and it was agreed on, but it was the amount of money that Fury wanted to get, and Furies were not willing to fork up. Basically saying, you know, it's not generating anywhere near enough activity for us to justify this kind of money, which is fair. You know, they're paying for it.
Mm-hmm.
So once that did happen, they had to reconsider and make the fight in the UK. That's when this whole situation started to become odd, because we haven't heard much of the negotiations to begin with. Everything was going along smoothly, nobody was saying anything. And in the last week, it was Oleksandr Usyk, who is the promoter of Oleksandr Usyk, who vocalized his concerns about the fight not happening. Because while they were happy with whatever terms they agreed on, Fury pushed for more money, and all of a sudden the split was not um, acceptable for the Fury. Which, again, counting somebody else's money, this guy deserves this guy deserves that, it really doesn't interest me all that much, because it's all business. And in business, you ask for and you get what you can get away with. If you are not pushing for higher chunk, then you're at a loss. So, you know, it seemed like Fury wanted more, so they came back with a proposition. Well, if Fury believes that he will win, here's the 60-40 for the winner. You know, that was one of those things where, okay, well, that's better, because if a fighter believes in his soul that he's gonna win, it's not an issue, right? Because I don't doubt that there's gonna be a rematch clause for this fight. Like, I don't think this is gonna be Usyk versus Fury 1, and then there's not gonna be a follow up. Uh, but it turns out that WBA ordered ordered Usyk's team to come up with an agreement with Fury team before the end of the week, or they will sanction fight with Dubois, which put Usyk team on the clock. Basically, WBA weighed in on the situation and altered the way that the negotiations could have proceeded. Now, what is interesting is that Fury escalated again, asking for 70-30. And Krasuk indicated that this wasn't the first time he dealt with a situation like this, and he basically said that Fury's trying to pull out of the fight, ask for something that the another side gets offended, and just pulls out, and fight falls apart, and Fury gets to either not fight or fight somebody else, fight Chisora again for the fourth time, maybe fight Wilder again, maybe even Joe Joyce, because that setup happened, I believe, for a reason. So the Usyk team had their hand forced, but at the same time, they also forced Fury's team, because when you're pushing a certain type of condition, this is what I'm gonna agree on, right? And you're using it to pull out. If the opponent accepts it, you cannot escalate again. You already been essentially agreed on what you want, and it's been public, which I believe one of the reasons why Krasuk did it publicly, because it's been quiet for so long, and on the last week, it became sort of transition into a mind game, right? Where Krasuk basically aired out the dirty laundry of the negotiations and allowed fans to basically reassess their perspective on Fury and Usyk. In this new light, it seemed like Usyk wanted the fight and Fury did not, which could be the case. Um, Again, impossible to know unless we get into Fury's head, and there are quite a few things to indicate that Fury really uh, doesn't enjoy the perspective of the fight. It's not that he's scared. I don't believe he's scared. It's just it doesn't entice him to the point that it should. And here's how it goes. Usyk is all wrong for Tyson Fury. The financial benefit is not that great. I think Fury could have made quite a bit of more money making a few easier fights. But the legacy side of things and the peer pressure, I don't know, for basically public recognition pushed him towards it. Um, at the beginning, Fury tried to frame. Um, it was interesting because Fury tried to frame Usyk's achievement at beating Joshua as well. He didn't beat anyone. He beat up a bodybuilder, and by the way, he's a middleweight. But this is all sort of a mind game to get into Usyk, basically devalue Usyk and um, make people pay more attention to Fury, while it didn't really stick to Usyk. He's not the kind of person to lash out at this kind of behavior. So he proceeded to work on his team proceeded to work on making the fight happen. Because I don't think there's any doubt in anyone's head that Usyk wants the undisputed in heavyweight. He just wants it. We have a track record of Usyk stepping down to make certain things happen. So, for example, when Usyk was going to the US for the first time, he he accepted a lower purse than his opponent just to make the fight in the US happen. Machunu got paid more than Usyk for fighting him in the US. Later on, Usyk was there was a big problem with even even earlier than that, actually. His first championship fight with Glavatsky, there was supposed to be a mandatory fight for Usyk, and because he was a WBO continental intercontinental champion, something like that. And WBO said, "Well, here's the fighter you gotta defend your belt against." And Usyk, I don't know if he did or his team did, but all of a sudden he became injured, so he didn't have to fight, but he had enough time to bridge the gap um, to fight Glavatsky. Because Glavatsky, hearing that Usyk has a mandatory, decided that, well, I'm gonna fight what is it um, what is it called, voluntary defense, right? Usyk wanted to have that fight, wanted to have the championship in 10 fights, right? So he basically played it so he wanted to fight with the champion so much that he essentially had to play possum to get the fight. After that, with the Machunu, he really wanted to have a foot in the US, so he stepped down, took a lower bid than his opponent, and fought in the US. Later on, he was supposed to fight Gassiev. And the talk was that the fight with Gassiev could be happening in Germany, maybe even in the UK. Uh, but Russian side weighed in quite heavily on it and made it a lot more profitable to make the fight happen in Moscow. Team Usyk really didn't want the fight to happen in Russia, but at the same time, this was the only way to stay in the World Boxing Super Series and um, collect all the belts. So he went for it and fought Gassiev in his backyard. Now, Usyk usually fights in other boxers' backyards, but it's not always that he has to sacrifice anything for it. For example, when he fought Bellew, or when he fought Breedis, that was a more financially interesting offer, while there was no downside of the other side making something dirty, pulling a fast one on him. So now, when there is this situation with Fury, Usyk pushes this line where he wants to fight so much that he's willing to take whatever concessions he needs to take to make the fight happen. Meanwhile, Fury is trying to, for some reason, um, devalue the fight to quite a big deal. So, on one hand, Usyk did not achieve anything because he's a middleweight and he just beat up a bodybuilder. On the other hand, he tries to set up a fight with that bodybuilder. It's a bizarre conundrum, but here we are. And as the fight gets closer to in negotiations and closer to being made, it becomes apparent that Fury cannot stick anything on Usyk to basically to get into his head, right? To make him react in some certain way. And the reasoning behind it, I believe, has to do with the styles of the fight. Fury does not look positively on fighting a guy who is about the size of Cunningham, but is a lot better than him. He's a lefty, just like Otto Wallin, but also is a lot more skilled than him. And when you really break it down on paper, the only aspects in which Fury has an advantage against Usyk is his size, arguably his punching power, and maybe but not verified ring IQ. If he is a bit better in ring IQ, it's not by much. So it really seems that Fury was making its, how do I say it? Making it so difficult for Team Usyk to make the fight happen that they would just walk away. Now, Fury can get the money, and basically, by fighting any other opponent that is less dangerous for him, who is not of a championship caliber. And at the same time, he can turn around and say, listen, I already held those belts. They don't matter to me. And if Usyk retires because, well, there's nobody else to fight, because that's essentially his dream, is to reach as high as he can get, then he can then miraculously get interested in those belts and pick them up again. So far, we have a situation in which one boxer is desperately trying to make the fight happen, and the other one is basically putting enough conditions in to force the other one to not take the fight. I am not convinced that in between now and the fight happening, there won't be some shenanigan that's gonna basically prevent all of it. Because we've seen Fury do this when he had to rematch Klitschko. I do not buy for a second his story about mental issues. You know, he has a lot of mental issues, and he twists his ankle so he cannot exercise. Then he goes and watches football in Europe and has fun time with his buddies. Um, it's it's all it's no disingenuous, you know. So I'm still skeptical that the fight is gonna happen. Now it might, but with Fury having the history of just blatant lying and being difficult and finding every excuse in the book to get away out of the situation he doesn't want to be in, I'm very cautious about, being optimistic at the news that they've reached an agreement. But that's my feeling. Maybe you have some other thoughts on it.
I think, to me, I think Fury's backed himself into a corner. That's what I think. I think it's a fight he doesn't. If he could fight anybody else, he would fight anybody else. The Ngannou fight for me is a fight that you've got a guy who's limited with boxing ability, but can punch very hard. And in terms of crossover and commercially, that's a better fight. If you ask Fury if he could avoid Usyk to fight Ngannou, he would take that. He's already been unified champion. He's already had the belts. The WBC he's now got. So technically, as you said, he's had all the belts beforehand. The thing is, for me, this Fury, I know Fury's talking about him being a middleweight. Is Fury saying he's calling Usyk a middleweight to psych himself out? Sometimes people say things to say, he's only a middleweight, I'll just walk straight through him. But Fury said it himself. Steve Cunningham, he says, technically was the best boxer he ever has faced. Steve Cunningham. Not the hardest puncher now. The best boxer. Steve Cunningham. He even rates Steve Cunningham higher than Vladimir Klitschko. Now, Cunningham dropped Fury. And now, you see the fight he had against Otto Wallin, as we talked about before. Usyk is a much better boxer than Otto Wallin. We saw all the technical issues that Otto Wallin caused Fury. Because he didn't make that an easy fight. He got cut in that fight. And he made it. That was a hard fight. It was a harder fight than people expected against Otto Wallin. And again, the Steve Cunningham fight. People say, "Oh well, Fury's a better boxer now." Is he? Is Fury better now? The Fury that I said that fought Klitschko, I still think that's the best version of Fury for me.
And he's not coming back.
And he's not coming back. And I would say the fighter now, in terms of the recent fights Fury's had, he's fought a lot of flawed guys, i.e. Dillian White, flawed. We already know White was vulnerable to the uppercut. We look at the Deontay Wilder fight. Yes, Wilder could punch, but we knew as soon as Fury put him onto that, pushed him back, that as long as Fury was pushing Wilder back, it was okay. It's when he gave Wilder space, that's when Wilder was able to time and land that right hand straight through the middle. So if we look at those fights, who else did he fight? So he's fought White, for Wilder 3 times. Who else has he fought? Wallin. And what's the other guy he beat up in 2 rounds?
No, you're not talking about Safar Safari or
no, after Safar Safari. He was world champion and he was wearing the American shorts. Not Tom Dallas.
He fought Tom Schwartz.
Tom Dallas, Tom Schwartz. Yeah. So, don't know.
Well, my thinking is there's gonna be something else. There's gonna be some shenanigan that will not make the fight.
The people are commenting here. Let's read what people are saying here. Okay, Martin Butler asked the question: does Fury box on the outside or fight Usyk up close and try to win the fight? What do you think?
Outside. I don't think Fury is not a particularly an inside fighter, and also Usyk is not an inside fighter. Usyk's gonna keep it at the distance.
But Tyson Fury's got good inside fightingness.
Well, he got physicality on Usyk, which is why Usyk will not even try.
But wait, is he physically stronger than Anthony Joshua up close?
I wouldn't say he's stronger. I would say he's more awkward, big,
more roughhouse.
Yeah, he can make it a lot dirtier than Joshua would.
Is he more vulnerable to getting knocked out than Joshua because of the way Fury fights? If he comes onto that front foot, certain styles make fights, and certain fighters, the way certain fighters fight, they leave themselves more open. There's a higher percentage of them getting knocked out because of the way they fight. Because if you look at Fury, he does the same thing every time. If Fury gets hurt in a fight, you look at the Cunningham fight, what he does, he'll box first, right? And try and take you out. If he gets hurt, Fury tucks up and walks you down. And that's if he gets hurt by Usyk in this fight, he will try and he'll tuck up tight and walk Usyk back. He did, and that's exactly what he did against Wilder. If you look in the 12th round, he got dropped by Wilder, he got out, he was hurt, and then he walked Wilder back. And by walking Wilder back in that tucking up and walking, forcing Wilder back, that's where he discovered, that's how Fury discovered, right, this guy's not as effective on the back foot. The only way he discovered that was because of what his go-to is. If he's hurt, Fury will tuck up tight and walk you back. And look at the Cunningham fight. Cunningham hurt him, dropped him, and he said, "Right, forget this. I'm going to take you into a dogfight now because I'm boxing you is not working." So be sure that if Usyk is out boxing Fury or he's hurting Fury, Fury's going to tuck up tight and try and close Usyk down. He'll use the forearm if he can to get Usyk's head up and hit him with a right hand. He'll do whatever he needs to do to get Usyk out of there.
Well, here's the thing.
History suggests that.
The problem with that approach, that technique, is that he has been doing it against people who are A, bad on the back foot, B, did not have better footwork than him.
Yeah.
And Usyk, here's an interesting thing about Usyk. He doesn't pounce on every opportunity when he gets the opponent hurt. If you notice, there are plenty of moments where he gets an opponent hurt and keeps going at the same pace. He doesn't pounce. Now, what he did to AJ at the end, in round 12.
The last fight, or the first fight?
The first fight.
The first fight is like he put his foot down.
Yeah.
In the last fight, he said, "Right, hold this now."
But he also did hurt him earlier. Right? I don't remember which round it was, but he landed a straight right on Joshua, and Joshua staggered.
Round 3? Round 3?
Yes, it was early. Round 3 would be about right. But even though he could clearly see that Joshua was hurt, he did not jump in because Joshua was still fresh. There could be something that could be coming back. And Usyk had it in control, so he kept it safe. He was already in a mode in which he knew he could proceed doing what he does, ramping up the basically the volume, the aggression, and it would be paying off because the thing that he was doing would be working out. By Fury tucking up and starting to chase Usyk down, he becomes a very predictable, linear opponent. Usyk can just get out of the way, land his punches, and get out of the way again. And he can do it for all 12 rounds. That's the problem with...
Yeah, I know, but what Fury will do, if he tucks up, then he'll go dig into Usyk's body. If he tucks up, he'll go to Usyk's body. He'll just go mad and go to attack, land body shots to Usyk.
Oh, he'll definitely try. It's just, I believe that Usyk's just gonna keep it at the distance if Fury decides to make it a brawl. I don't think Usyk will meet him with a brawl.
What confuses me about boxing fans, or some boxing fans, like, oh, Fury's too big. Well, isn't Joyce a big guy? Isn't Joshua a big guy?
Yeah, and it's also a myth.
Of course it's a myth.
Have you seen him right next to Wilder? He might be half or 1 inch taller than Wilder. You know what? The 6'8" thing.
Do you know what also fascinates me? It's that people rate Mike Tyson. Like Mike Tyson, he's 5'11" or 5'9", 5'11" or 5'10". Oh, they never say that Mike Tyson was too small. They never say Mike Tyson was too small. He was at 15 and a half stone. I still don't get it.
People don't say that Ali was short and he's exactly the same size as
dimensions as Usyk.
Do I make that make sense?
People see what they want to see in boxing. People see what they want to see in boxing. Honestly,
you know, when you see a guy on the street that is 6'3", you don't say that's a small guy. Like, okay, that's a big fella.
yeah, absolutely. Because Shook says Fury has issues punching down and has to reset when someone goes to his body. Check out the first 2 rounds of Fury versus Wilder. Fury was befuddled. I talked to you about Fury, the shot to the chest. I said the double jab to Fury's chest. Fury doesn't know what to do. When you double jab into his chest, it's a problem. I said this before. But
and
we'll
also
see.
Bashir said that there is a lot of real estate downstairs. You don't have to go for the head all the time uh, because he's so awkward, and he's also, because of his height, he moves his body a little bit, and he moves his head by much. So chasing his
Uh,
head is a bad idea, but the torso
Absolutely.
will always be there.
You always see the torso. The other thing is the referee's going to be key in this fight as well.
Oh yes, absolutely.
You have to have a strong referee.
Yeah, you have to
That's
have
not
no
going to allow.
nonsense guy.
Yeah, he's not going to allow Fury to headlock and hold and use the arm to lift Usyk's head up and try and throw silly shots. That's something that's going to have to be important, and rabbit punches as well.
And the shots to the body, I suspect might quite a few of them be low. You know.
But Fury could pull that as well, say that Usyk's punching low as well. So you've got to watch that as well. You know, the belt lines can be interesting.
Yeah.
The fight will never happen. Imagine Luke loses. Probably then where does he go? There won't be a rematch.
No, there will be a rematch.
He goes, how can this fight happen, lads? Luke loses to the rabbit middleweight. Luke can't take the chance. He thought AJ would deal with Usyk, and what happened? Here we go now. Shook saying here, check this out. Remember that Usyk's measurements are the same as Muhammad Ali, not comparing records or rank measurements. Usyk is smaller, sleek heavyweight that is faster than Fury, who has trouble punching down. The Fury from Klitschko to Wilder, he's not seeing him again. That was his best. The 3-year break and Bender put an end to that Fury that beat Vlad.
I agree. Yes. And also, just recently, there has been some news of Fury talking about sustaining quite a few injuries. Now, again, it's Fury talking, so it might all be nonsense, right? We
also, Fury. There was also a clip of Fury said, "Right, I'm starting training now."
Yeah. Okay, fine.
Yeah. All right. All right. Oh, I only need 6 weeks. You know, he talks. I need 6 weeks to prepare. I'm like, you're talking shit, mate. You've been training longer than that, mate. You're talking absolute shit. Anyone believes that? It's like you're 10 weeks to train to fight Dillian White, but you're fighting for the undisputed championship well against the best guy on paper now for you, right? Who's not like, the best technical fighter you fought, and that you're going to train 6 weeks. Who's going to believe that? I mean, I don't believe that unless it's that stupid.
I'm wondering, he has Joseph Parker in his camp, right? How does Joseph Parker help you prepare for Usyk?
Smaller.
I mean, maybe to get the rounds in, but he's nowhere near the speed, nowhere near the movement.
It'd probably be better advice to get Otto Volin back in for sparring.
Yeah, that's fair.
Maybe Eddie Chambers.
Yeah.
You see that? Eddie Chambers. Speed.
You know who I would bring?
Who?
That Cuban guy,
Sanchez.
Fast.
Yeah, but he's not. He's a heavyweight, isn't he? He's not a guy who's come from cruiserweight up to heavyweight. That speed that Usyk will have.
Still, it's the trickiest, fast, lightning fast guy, and I believe he's a southpaw. I might be wrong.
Then in that case, then bring in Luis Ortiz as well, then, mate.
But I don't know if Luis Ortiz can put the rounds in. His last performances seem like the guy is just collecting social security by
Okay, well, who in the cruiserweights could you bring in? Who in the cruiserweights could you? Or light heavyweight southpaw.
You can bring Brady's. Not a southpaw, but if you're working at somebody who's low and who's pretty decent.
Do you know who I would employ for this fight? If I were Tyson Fury's camp, do you know who I would employ for this fight? Just for this fight?
Who?
Bashir.
Oh yeah, he knows the guy in and out.
I would employ Bashir. I'd say, look, mate, Bashir, come here, mate. We'll give you this. We'll just give you Bashir and Hill together. Well, I don't know how that would work out.
Oh,
Bashir
that's the
and Hill.
problem. I think Hill would really be not looking forward to having Bashir.
Yeah, because
Basically,
Bashir had him like an uncle. You know, it's like Hill was a kid when Bashir was a steward, if you remember. So,
yep.
but I mean, if I were Tyson Fury, I would keep Bashir in camp. I would.
But that's the most logical solution. But AJ didn't go for it, and he even spoke to the guy. So I don't know. Sometimes these decisions by the fighters, they don't really make sense. And plus, Bashir seems to be out of commission for now for a little bit.
Yeah, but telephone calls. You know.
Yeah.
I don't think Usyk could beat the Fury who beat Klitschko, but Usyk could outwork and outpoint the current Fury, in my opinion. Interesting. What do you think of that?
Yeah, that's interesting because the fight against against Fury who beat Klitschko is a lot more technical fight.
How good is that Fury, though? I mean, is that Fury a myth? Was he really that good?
Well, yes, it is a myth.
Because I mean, we look at that Fury and I say that Fury was pretty good, but the performance against Klitschko wasn't great. So why do we always go back to that Fury? Is it because he was moving around the ring and he's flitting around the ring? But yet this Fury's now has got punching power, knocking guys out. I mean,
there is a danger of assigning that Fury the credit that he's getting because Klitschko didn't show, and when there was supposed to be a rematch, it fell through. So if we had a repeat of Klitschko trying to show, and it would still not matter, then we would have a rubber stamp on it. This is what Fury is about, and this is his skill set, regardless of
right.
Of
it's
the
that
opponent.
same argument. It's that same argument. People say that, oh, the AJ back in the day, that killer AJ would have beaten this Usyk. I'm like, no, that AJ was learning on the job.
Right. So then he was too young, just learning on the job, so he couldn't do it.
Yeah. So, like, at least this Fury that fought Klitschko was experienced enough. Nobody could say he went into that Klitschko fight saying he was, inexperienced. He was British, Commonwealth, European champion. And he was mandatory for Klitschko, I believe.
Yes.
So nobody can say, Fury was learning on the job. But when he was knocking over Matt Skelton and Kevin Johnson and the guy from Scotland, I can't remember his name again. Yeah, that's when AJ looked like a monster. But I keep forgetting the Vladimir Klitschko fight. Vladimir Klitschko had been sitting in his couch for 2 years. I don't understand.
If Usyk fought AJ, that was the old AJ.
He would have got smashed to bits.
He would have had the Ruiz moment against
Usyk. A lot faster.
Yeah, AJ changed after Ruiz by becoming a lot more timid. And it increased his survivability, but hindered his performance because he constantly kept getting flashbacks to that fight. Yeah, but in the fight itself, he seized up.
Yeah.
Right. So that could have been it. We don't know, and I suspect that that was the moment when basically AJ was the most vulnerable against an opponent that's gonna put him off the front foot.
Is Fury the same power puncher against a moving target? Because Wyatt was pretty stationary. Wilder was pretty stationary. He was right in front of Fury. Otto Volin gave movement, didn't he? Or did he not give movement? I didn't see the whole fight.
He moved a bit, but I don't know whether he was more puzzled by fighting a southpaw or the movement part. And again,
Okay,
it's always a combination of things, right?
what about if Fury turns southpaw on Usyk?
And what would that help?
Oh, I don't know. It's southpaw versus southpaw.
Okay, well, um,
Because he
Usyk
can box
doesn't
south.
fight any differently by facing a southpaw, and I don't
Okay.
think Fury fights out of like he only switches stances to confuse his opponent.
The reason why he used that a southpaw, I remember that he turned southpaw, is to take away the effectiveness of the right hand. Because I said to him, I said, you're vulnerable to the right hand against guys that are 6'2" and shorter. So he says he turned southpaw. He did that under Peter Fury. Turned southpaw. Took the right hand away. That's why he looked so good against in the Chisora fight, the second fight against Chisora.
I don't see
But
him doing that much of it. I think the version of Fury that we have
have
right
now.
now is solidified, and if he tries to go back to what he was doing before, he's gonna look very sloppy. Like I think if he could do that, he would, because that was a lot more defensive, a lot more um, safe, essentially, right? He could just arrive to the victory at a lesser cost.
That Fury, I think the Fury who fought Klitschko was more slippery.
Oh, definitely.
Usyk will make Fury look like Nikolai Valuev in the opening rounds.
Well, not
Body armor.
necessarily, because Usyk doesn't step on it from the first round.
Okay.
With Usyk, it's always first few rounds are always feelers. So I don't think we're gonna see where this is going up until it's round 4. You know?
Okay. Fury is used to leaning straight back. Usyk is a shorter fighter, and this could cause problems for the Gypsy King. And Cunningham is about the same build and measurements as Usyk. Some people are ignoring Fury's difficulty with the smaller heavyweights.
Yeah, absolutely.
There will need to be some very assertive refereeing aspects with tussling and likes. Maybe Jack Reese, Steve Willis. I think Steve Willis is pretty good. Eddie Cotton or someone with some meat on him that can keep both of them honest. Steve Willis would be good. Jack Reese, I never want to see Jack Reese again. And Eddie Cotton. Jack Reese, wasn't Jack Reese the one that said when Fury was on the canvas, he turned around and said that he wanted to see the rematch. So he let Fury have a few more seconds, some nonsense like that.
Wait, what? That's a thing?
Yeah, he said that.
Oh,
So
that's okay.
I don't want to hear nothing from Jack Reese. Luke Sabon fought 3 ranked fighters in 13 years, milking the belt. Fact, I've been a boxing fan for over 40 years. Luke's a joke.
I wouldn't call him a joke, but you know.
Frank Sanchez would destroy Luke, so no. Frank Sanchez, Tyson Fury.
Jeez.
Frank Sanchez is a bad man.
That guy, like, if you have any sense about you, you avoid him like plague.
Yeah. Klitschko was an old man, boring fight with no rematch, you fools. Is this fight actually confirmed to be happening? Contract signed? Yeah.
We don't have the date, so it's not official yet.
I think it's April 20. They say April 29th.
They were saying it, but I don't think it's been announced that it is. It's just Fury came out to 6 weeks. You know, it's ready for 6 weeks. So the old date seems to be the target, but they might move it here or there a couple of weeks.
Usyk will get robbed.
Potentially, but this is the aspect that I don't think many people talk about. And it's the fact when it comes to the negotiations and selection of judges and referees and whatnot, That is where Klitschko's actually weigh in.
Okay.
They don't micromanage K2 promotion. They really hands off on it. But there are
Okay.
a few things where they do want to make sure everything goes smoothly, and that's when you see them showing up for the fights.
Right. Okay.
So my thinking is
It's
they
just
would be
precise.
there, trying to make sure that the referee's right, the judges are right. Somehow
Okay.
they managed to get their decision in Moscow, right? So far, Usyk been fighting in everyone's backyard and hasn't been robbed yet.
So okay, if they've got it so meticulous, how the hell did Fury beat Usyk? Beat Klitschko in Klitschko's backyard? How'd that one work out then?
Oh, you mean why didn't they stack it up against Fury?
Yeah.
I don't think they could because Klitschko didn't show.
Because thought the WWE said that they have only received a tentative confirmation that both sides are working on a contract, so they're giving them more time. This is the last I heard. I have doubts. Okay. Too fast, too furious. The decision in Moscow was obvious. This one won't be as obvious.
Yeah, but in Latvia it wasn't. In Latvia they could have pulled one on him.
Yeah, against Brutus.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's talk ring size.
What ring size do you think Fury would want?
A small ring so that he can close the range down on Usyk quickly.
All of a sudden he'll become a lover of spongy mat.
Interesting.
I'm just saying. I would expect. Well, Usyk always trains in a tiny ring. It's I think it was Malik Scott said
Yeah.
this is the stuff from Looney Tunes. It's like 10 feet by 10 feet or something. He
Oh wow.
yeah, he fights people in phone booth when he trains. And it's deliberately so. It's not that he doesn't have money to have a larger gym or larger ring. But I think they might want to. They will be pushing for a smaller ring. They might not get it though.
Who's that? Team Fury.
Yeah.
Hold on. I know that Fury's got greater commercial value, but who holds more belts? Does that matter?
Depends to who. Like,
Because
does it
Usyk's
matter to the organizers of the fight?
So who's got a bigger say? Yeah, I know Fury's got the bigger purse, but they're both champions. Now, I remember back in the day, this is way back in the day, where champion would meet champion, yeah? And both champions would come out at the same time.
That's what they did in World Boxing Super Series.
Both champions come out at the same time. I think that was amazing.
I mean, that's very
Are you
fair.
going to get Uncle Bashir to give us his precious 2 cents on this? If I can get a hold of him, yeah.
It would be nice. Plus, Serenko hasn't fought for over a year now. I'd love to hear an update.
Yeah, I did an interview with Serenko just before Christmas. Didn't you see it?
Yeah, I did see it. But, hopefully something is in pipeline because...
Well, no, because there were 2 offers. One of the offers was that he'd have to spar. You know who could spar? Jared Anderson.
Really?
Fury could spar Jared. Yeah, the deal was for Serenko to join. I think it was to join Top Rank. He'd have to spar with Jared Anderson, and to join PBC, he would have to spar with Frank Sanchez. That was the deal. Those were the deals on the table. So he'd have to spar to show his worth. And if he did well against those guys, then he'd get signed up by those. If you had to get Serenko to spar against any of the 2, who would you get Serenko sparring against? He sparred against Frank Sanchez. He told me that. He actually compared Frank Sanchez to Usyk.
Is that in the interview?
Yeah, it is an interview.
I'll have to go and rewatch it.
Go back. Yeah. Um. Yeah. If you had to spar between the two, Sorenko, who would you advise Sorenko to go and spar with? Frank Sanchez or Gerald Anderson?
I My personal pick would be Sanchez, and the reasoning behind it, I don't know. Maybe I'm cynical, but since Jared Anderson fought Teslenko,
Yeah.
right? Maybe they wanna size Serenko up and then you know pounce on him essentially.
Yeah.
Use him as a stepping stone. I don't think that, again, it's my cynical brain talking, but if
Yeah.
I had to have him fight somebody, fight a spar, it would be Sanchez. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. I tell you who wouldn't be a bad sparring partner for Tyson Fury. Thinking about now, the switch hitter, the current British heavyweight champion.
A Coley? Oh,
No,
heavyweight.
heavyweight.
Uh,
What's his name again? Can't remember the boy's name. I can see him right now. Just knocked out Nathan Gorman.
British heavyweight. I don't think I know who you're talking about.
I do, and I rate him as well. He reminds me a little bit of Jared Anderson in his temperament. Oh God, what's his name again? Somebody please help me.
What, do you know
British
his rough
heavyweight champion.
age? How many fights he had?
No, not Dubois. British heavyweight champion. That's WBA champion. British heavyweight champion. Oh yeah, I see him now. He's managed by Dillian White. Oh my God, can you believe I've just forgotten the guy's name? And I rate him. I like him. Let me just find a British heavyweight champ, current British heavyweight champion. Wardley, that's it. Fabio Wardley. He'd be good for Fury to spar with. He's got the fast hands, be unpredictable, can punch with both hands as well.
Interesting.
Just for the unpredictability angle.
Who would you have Usyk fight though? Well, I mean,
Spar with.
Yeah.
Tommy Fury. No, seriously, I would bring in Hughie Fury.
Hughie Fury.
I'd bring in, yeah.
Does it even make sense to have Furies in the camp?
Well, I don't know how well Hughie communicates with Tyson anymore. I don't even think that would work. But out of family honor and stuff. But
yeah,
there's a guy who's tall and long, got a nice jab, herky jerky style like Fury. Not as good as Fury.
No.
Who's stronger, Martin Bakole or Tyson Fury?
In what, deadlift?
Physical strength, punching power.
Maybe Martin Bakole is stronger, but that, you got to have the style though.
Mm-hmm.
You can be all the punching that you want. Who are they talking? Efe Jagba? They were really talking about him, like, oh, he's got all this punching power, devastating.
A Jagba, Jagba, would he be good sparring? He's tall, he's long. Yeah, he'd be good sparring. I'd like to see Gerald Anderson spar Usyk, actually.
Gerald Anderson, yeah. Oh,
Gerald
let's
Anderson.
see. Because Usyk usually doesn't change his partners that much. Like, I'm borderline expecting to see Malik Scott there again.
Yeah, I was going to say to you is that Usyk, if Malik Scott is in camp, Malik Scott has got a methodology of how to beat Fury. But unfortunately, Wilder could not stick to that game plan.
That's very true.
But I don't think that. But I don't think Usyk. I don't think Usyk's got the jab to do. He doesn't have a jab like. He doesn't have that long jab, does he? Usyk.
He doesn't, but he has the movement and the awkwardness. And if the focus is shifted towards the body, you could have a simulacrum of what of the basically of the problems that Wilder was given to Fury. You know, you don't have to do exactly the same thing, right?
No, but is that straight left hand strong enough to drop Fury?
Drop straight up? No, but it will probably
to the
hurt
body.
him.
To the body.
Again, I don't know because we've never seen Fury being dropped from punches to the body, right? He's been dropped from a punch to the head, but nobody ever goes to the body of Fury. And when they do, it seems to work quite well, and then they abandon it.
How good is Fury's chin?
Plenty good. I don't think there are a lot of heavyweights who could have taken all those punches from Wilder and kept getting.
Yeah, but since the Wilder fight, how many times has Fury got hit on the chin cleanly? Now this time he's going to get hit by. It's not the punch you see that drops you; it's the one that you don't see that drops you. Yeah.
I can't.
Does he hit hard enough to hurt Fury?
Hurt, yes, I think so. But it's I don't think we're gonna see a TKO or any kind of dramatic knockdown. He will probably hit him hard enough for Fury to have to reset, adjust.
Yep.
Fury will not be ignoring his punches. And everybody who ever sparred with the Usyk says that he can hit plenty hard if he chooses to. When he threw that left at Joshua, you could see that big guy will react to it. Joshua might be a bit chinny, but where's one, there's two.
Usyk said in his Sky interview with Gary Neville he will definitely go to the body of Fury. Of course he will. That's no secret there. Usyk revealed that he's gonna learn to fight against taller guys, or he's gonna adjust his training to fight taller guys.
Reasonable.
But why would he do that now? He just fought Joshua twice. Why would he adjust his training now?
Honestly, I think it's the reach. Because
who's gone?
I think that Joshua is nowhere near as good as Fury at controlling the distance in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is what Usyk needs to adjust to. Fighting somebody that he needs to move into the pocket of, land the shots, and get away. And that pocket is a lot larger now.
Okay, so now we know Derek Chisora, when he brought that fight to Usyk, it made Usyk uncomfortable, and that bullying style of Chisora gave Usyk a lot of problems. But Fury doesn't fight that way.
Exactly. Well, that's the same reason why Joshua didn't fight that way, right?
Joshua tried to impose as well, but what happened? As soon as Joshua tried to impose as well, he got hit with a straight left hand. And when you got hit with a straight left hand, he got put. It was like being dog walked. Every time Joshua tried to come forward, he got hit with that straight left hand. Bam, down boy, and then Joshua would have to reset and think again. He hits just hard enough to make you have to reset, and that's enough. Enough to offset your attack. Enough to hit you hard enough to get out of the danger point. I saw, was it round 9 against Joshua? Where Joshua looked like he did hurt Usyk to the body. Was it round 9 or was it round 8? or round
I
9.
think it
Yeah,
was around
Joshua had a good
9,
round.
and then in round 10, Usyk.
Then Usyk came flying out the traps and started putting all these punches together on Joshua. Now, the argument is said that Usyk tires later on in the fight. But what about that?
Doesn't seem to be. Like, he definitely does tire. Like, it's hard to make an argument that he's as fresh in round 1 as he is in round 12. It wouldn't make sense. But here is the thing. He's very good at maintaining his gas tank level high.
Mm-hmm.
So when he chooses to step down, he has plenty and then some.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When he came out at Joshua in round 12 with a barrage of punches in their first fight,
Yes.
he had all of it. He didn't slow down in that barrage at all. Like, he just kept going. And when Joshua really seemed like he poured some water in his basement in round 9 or round 10, whatever it was, the next round he comes out and it's like nothing happened.
Flying out. Yeah. Here's another thing. Can Fury fight at the pace necessary to tie Usyk out?
I doubt
Because
it.
the fight is... at what pace does Fury have to fight to outbox Usyk? Wait, can Fury actually outbox Oleksandr Usyk? That's the question. Can he outbox Usyk?
I think he can if he manages to keep Usyk at the distance. Like, basically, if he keeps Usyk away, does not allow him to move in and land punches, right? He spoils the gameplay of
Yeah.
Usyk.
It's Otto Volin. So that goes out the window. Otto Volin was able to land punches, cut
But
Fury.
Otto Wallin is a lot larger too.
And
I
he's a lot
believe he's
slower.
like 6'5", and I think he has quite a bit of reach.
Yeah, but he's also slower.
True. And one might
And he hasn't got
compensate
as
for
good
the other.
And he hasn't got as good footwork
Nope.
as Fury, as Usyk.
It might be a lot more awkward for Fury than he expects.
Okay, what about if Fury says he tries to go out there like some people are saying? Oh, he's going to go out there, weigh 20 stone, and go out there and try and bulldoze Usyk.
And what?
How does
Gas
that
himself
work?
in 5 rounds. Well, what are the? It's not sumo. All that weight is only useful when you're resisting the punches from the other guy, and B, you can out endure the guy, right? If you're putting yourself in a position where you're slower, have less endurance, and planning to win the guy who's by default already has more endurance than you, then I don't know, and more speed. Like, you're literally doing the, well, not literally. I guess that's too preposterous, but all that weight didn't help Ruiz to win the second fight, did it?
No.
You can only do that against the guy who just cannot hurt you and cannot get out of the way.
Usyk will go in and out fast and win as many early rounds as possible and then try to finish him late on.
I don't think he will try to finish him. Unless Fury's gonna be huffing and puffing, then yeah, maybe. But I think it will be a decision.
Personally, I would not be shocked if Tyson Fury retired briefly rather than fight Usyk.
You never know.
Don't forget that the rematch was in Saudi Arabia. That was very hot. That's true. Usyk's had a reputation of going into people's backyards and taking their titles from them. He has a reputation to do that, doesn't he?
Yeah. Oh, he's a road warrior.
He won the Cruiserweight Championship of the world, became undisputed on the road. He's now won a portion of the Heavyweight Championship of the world on the road in the UK. And now he's back in the UK again. If it's fighting Webby, he's back in the UK again to fight for Undisputed.
Yeah, there are no favoritism in Usyk's fight.
Fury's jab will control the pace.
Will it
Is it,
though?
is it as cut and dried as that? Who is Fury apart from Klitschko? You got Klitschko, who was probably the best boxer. Klitschko, then he says Cunningham was the best boxer he faced. But you look at a guy who's been a undisputed cruiserweight world champion, Olympic gold medalist at cruiserweight and at heavyweight. He's fought a cruiserweight and now he's fought a heavyweight as a champion. And as an amateur, he fought a heavyweight as well. Is he more decorated than Klitschko?
By defeating who?
Usyk.
Oh, Usyk.
Yeah.
Well, let's see.
Is he more decorated than? Has he achieved more than Klitschko? Because he's gone into everyone else's backyard and won the world title at cruiserweight. And at heavyweight, he went abroad to fight, be one of the best heavyweights in the world.
As an overall boxer, I would say yes.
Mm-hmm.
As an heavyweight, no.
Okay.
Because Usyk's body of work in heavyweight is what he would have AJ, then Chisora, and then Chaz Witherspoon.
Okay, but Usyk's beaten Joshua twice, something that Klitschko couldn't do.
Sure. But then again, was it the same Klitschko? You know, was that the old man Klitschko? Because, okay, let's take the Klitschko from 2008 era, 2006.
Remember, Klitschko also got beat by Lamont Brewster. Let's not forget that.
True.
Got dropped by Samuel Peter.
Yeah, but he was also a lot more... Like, against Samuel Peter, he kept getting up. And he was a lot faster. I don't know. I think Klitschko is not a very good benchmark at that point in his career.
Yeah, I guess so. Usyk isn't impossible to hit, and there is a chance for Fury.
Of course. Like, nobody's saying it's it's been decided or it's a wash.
Or it's easy for Usyk to win the fight. No,
absolutely not.
But when you're punching, it's this expression. It's easier to punch up than it is to punch down. The guy punching up, it's easier for him than the guy punching down. Leverage. You know?
Yep.
Again, this is again. The reason I believe he will try and finish him later is because he does not trust the decision in the fight of this magnitude. Okay? Fury had elbow injury earlier. This is the most problematic injuries. He may not healed. Can't forget Charles Witherspoon. Oh
no, never.
How can you? Should be said that Nazim Richardson was training Cunningham at the time he gave Tyson Fury the knockdown. Yeah. Great Nazim Richardson.
Well, I think we reached about the end of it, because
for now, I guess so. We just have to wait and see whether this fight, we say the fight's confirmed and the legal team say the fight's confirmed. So let's see. Let's see what happens.
I really want it to happen. I'm skeptical because.
But can a fight of that magnitude happen next month, just like that? Like undisputed? Does it need a world tour? Does it need a lot of publicity? Or are they banking on all the back and forth between them on social media is enough to sell the fight?
Well, the thing is, the promotion hasn't even started properly, right? It's all been in a negotiation phase. So we're going to know very soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will be interesting, and let's watch out for the next weeks, because We might be blessed with getting what we want, an undisputed champion.
I
What
can't
was
imagine this press conference being. Can you imagine this being a good press conference?
No, not really.
I won't believe it until they're both in the ring. I gave you that one.
Very prudent.
Okay, if you were gonna say who, if it came down to it, and you had to decide between the two guys who didn't want to fight whom, who would you say didn't want to fight whom? In your opinion, is it more Fury or is it more Usyk?
I, I think you know the answer. I believe that Fury doesn't want this fight anywhere near as much as Usyk does. Usyk literally went for all the concessions to make the fight happen, and
Uh, do you think that then Joe Joyce is a more dangerous fight than Oleksandr Usyk?
that's a good question.
Or is Francis Ngannou a more dangerous fight than
Oh,
Alexander
no,
Usyk?
please.
Wait. So, listen, some cornball in the corner is going to say, no, the Ngannou fight was much more dangerous than the Usyk fight. Look at Ngannou's punching power.
No, sure, if you stand still and let be hit, yeah, that's dangerous, but that's boxing. Punching power doesn't decide fights. Boxing ability
Well,
does.
Mike Tyson may argue with you on that one. Deontay
Well,
Wilder may argue with you on that one.
again, who did Deontay Wilder fought that was taking away his right hand? Right?
He was fighting a guy that was letting him hit him with his right hand.
Yeah.
He just happened to be able to beat the count.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting because it seemed to me like they were angling for Fury to fight Joe Joyce. Wait, Usyk, who's he? He's promoted by K2, right?
Right.
Did he have a deal with DAZN? Isn't he a DAZN fighter under Eddie Hearn?
No, I believe there was like a co-promotional agreement, and if you see the negotiations process, Eddie Hearn is not part of it.
Yeah.
So I think it was just for the
AJ fights.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Eugene, as always a pleasure to talk with you. Really have enjoyed it once again. It's very hard to do these shows now. It's getting more and more difficult with commitments outside of the house. So it's a pleasure, and I really do enjoy it. It's, like I said, it's been 10 years, and Fury and Usyk. It's almost like almost the end of a BWTM era there when these two guys collide. Your thoughts?
That's the best conclusion we could have gotten.
It would be, really, wouldn't it? Really
Yeah.
would be. Yeah. Eugene, thank you so much as always.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and hopefully boxing does not go the way our pessimistic minds tell us, and we're gonna see a lot more good stuff from it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Eugene. And thank you all for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, smash that like button. This has been BWTN Sports with our Eastern European correspondent. Hey, hold on a second. Before you go,
Yes.
got a big fight. Hold on. Your boy, Lomachenko, White Jesus.
Loma God.
Lomachenko, yeah. What? Hey, how can we not talk about Haney's fight against Devin Haney? Any thoughts?
I think Haney takes it.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Lomachenko has been very odd recently. A lot of his mental space is somewhere completely wrong, and his professionalism has declined since, ever since the Teofimo Lopez fight, he's just she's basically cruising, and that's not the mode that he needs to be in to beat Haney. Either way, I'm gonna watch the fight, but if I had to bet my money, I would bet on Haney.
Wow. So you think the Lomachenko hype is over, huh?
Well, if it isn't yet, then it's gonna be after the fight.
Oh, damn me. It's amazing how one fight changed everything. The other day, Lomachenko was pound for pound this, pound for pound that. Now, what's going on? Nobody wants to talk about the guy anymore.
Nope. And it's all done by him alone. He didn't get that rematch clause because he was arrogant and went in the fight injured. And ever since that, just you get what you deserve.
Wow. And this is coming out. This is coming off his countrymen as well. You got no sympathy for him then.
Look, he's supposed to be a professional, and then he goes around and does all this weird stuff, which is like, okay, well, too bad. I mean, at the end of the day, he's a grown-up man, so it's all in his hands. If he doesn't, it is what it is.
Wow. Again, Eugene, go ahead.
Yeah, don't hate the guy. It's just, it is what it is. Boxing, if I had to choose Lomachenko or boxing, I would choose boxing because boxing's gonna stick with me for the rest of my life.
Wow. All right. Thank you so much for that. Much appreciated as always. Much love to you, Eugene. Take care.
Bye-bye.